Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Transaction, Skies is the Limit, where we take a deep dive into the colorful world of marketing, branding, and customer experiences. This podcast series delves into transcending mere commercial exchanges and uncovering stories of individuals who are shaping the way we experience beauty and functionality. I'm your host, Katie Baldwin, and today we continue to explore the deeper layers of individual stories, going beyond the surface to understand the motivations, inspirations, and creative processes that shape their work. We're delving into the vibrant world of entrepreneurship with a fantastic guest who has mastered the art of turning dreams into reality. Join me in conversation with Jess Owen, the brilliant mind behind Just Jess Bougie Bakery. We'll hear about Jess's journey from a home business to the all-pink storefronts of Hua Pie and the 8-month pop-up in Takapuna, offering the best and bougiest donuts in Auckland. We'll dive into the world of business ownership, including the branding choices, the art of creating delightful customer experiences, the inevitable challenges encountered along the way, and overall, the incredible fusion of creativity and business. We'll explore the decisions Jess made to turn her passion into a thriving business. This episode is filled with entrepreneurial insight, the power of social media, and the journey of turning a small business into a bougie brand. Jess Owen's story is not just about baking, it's about how she's created an experience delighting customers and pushing forward in the pursuit of greatness. It isn't just about transactions, it's about the passion that fuels entrepreneurship, the unexpected hurdles, and the creativity that sets businesses apart. Jess's journey reflects the essence of Beyond the Transaction. It's about building a brand, creating a community, and navigating the twists and turns of operating a business in Aotearoa. So whether you're an aspiring business owner, a fellow entrepreneur, or simply someone who appreciates a good story, this episode promises to inspire, inform, and leave you with a sweet taste of entrepreneurial journey. Welcome, Jess.
Hello.
Truly so excited that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
I would just love to start off with your bakery, Just Jess Bougie Bakery, for those who don't know. It's become an Instagram sensation. That's how I discovered it. Can you take us back to the beginning?
So the beginning was 5 years ago now. We just celebrated our 5th business birthday, which is exciting.
Super.
The beginning started in my 1-bedroom apartment kitchen with a teeny tiny square oven. I was working full time in a media job selling advertising, and it started as my little side hustle. I just kind of did it at night and on the weekends for fun, and then that turned into people wanting me to make birthday cakes and cupcakes for, their kids' birthdays or the office or whatever, and offering to pay me for that. So that kind of took off a little bit. Also, I thought back then, I was busy and working my normal job and then going home and baking well into the night all weekend. And then I kind of got to this point where, one, I was a little bit burnt out from doing that. And 2, I was really excited because it felt like it could go somewhere. So I had a chat with my hubby and he said, go for it, quit my job, and started the Bougie Bakery, which back then was just Jess Cake Co. And we had a bit of a rebrand when we got the store. And that was kind of where it started. I had no idea if it would go anywhere, but I just knew that I needed to give it a go. So I worked out my last quarter. I timed it because I was a salesperson that was on quarterly commissions. So I was like, I'm going to smash this last quarter's targets, get that payout, and then I'm going to use that to have enough money in the bank to survive while I try this thing. And that was 5 years ago. Now we've got our main HQ store. We've had a pop-up for 8 months, like you mentioned, over the shore. And it's still just the beginning, I think.
Yeah, totally. And to have that support system is so crucial.
Yeah, 100%. I was super nervous to I don't know, it's like you think of it yourself, but then to put it out into the world to other people was really nerve-wracking. But him and my friends and family were all just like, yeah, totally go for it. And I think that gives you a little bit of a confidence boost when people that aren't you believe in it as well.
You had even people like paying you for it. It was
Yeah.
kind of that affirmation that you needed. People will pay for this.
Yeah, and gosh, back then I'd charge like $50 for a cake or something, and we've got to start somewhere.
One question that I just always had was pink always an important aspect to it?
It's just my favorite color. And it's funny, I kind of say now, it reminds me like of Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. I've got like Jess Owen and I've got Just Jess.
Yes.
And Just Jess is like my little girly outlet. And it's like everything pink, and it just gives me that, fills that little girly cup. And yeah, it's just always been my favorite color. I couldn't see myself making a brand or a logo with any other color. Like it never came into the equation. It was just pink always.
Well, I love that because I feel, I'm in the business of color, I guess.
Yes.
But it's more of just, embracing the color into every aspect. It's not like you only just painted the walls pink. You went every detail you could.
Everything that I can possibly find. And I know that it's paid off when I literally will get an Instagram DM every week. Someone's just seen something pink. It's a car, it's something else, it's random. And they send it to me and they're like, hey, thought of you. And I'm like, yes, we have nailed that branding.
Yeah, that is so good. I was just going to ask, like, do your friends and family just like see a shirt and they're like, oh,
all the
that's
time.
Your color.
And followers, people I've never met
Yeah.
in a different country even. And they'll just send me something and they're like, I thought of you.
Beyond just your love for pink, did you ever think of this as like a part of your branding strategy?
Not entirely. Like I knew I wanted pink to be the color of the brand. It probably wasn't. I'd worked in advertising, so I did really understand the importance of having like a strong brand identity. And so I'm really grateful for that job that I had there for 4 years because I learned lots to take forward into my own brand. I probably didn't understand like how important it could be right at the beginning. I just kind of like I had no money to put behind it. So I just went onto Canva and, found a pink circle and a whisk and made a little logo. Since then, I've obviously evolved it and kind of bougied it up a little bit with all of our brand icons and stuff like that. I knew that pink would always be like the brand, but now I feel since we've done all of the icons and our little illustrations, that's like really given us an identity all over the show and in the market.
I'm curious to know, did you make all of those icons? Like, did you illustrate that?
I did not. No, unfortunately, I cannot draw. No, I have an amazing graphic designer, Christy from Pink Pony Creative. She was a friend of mine. We went to Pony Club together when we were like kids. Right. I remember she reached out to me a couple of years ago, and it was around the same time that we created this new kind of branding for Just Jess. And she was, working a job and she was asking me like, what do you think? Should I go out on my own? Should I take that leap? And I was like, 100% let's do it. And soon after that, I employed her to do the icons for me. We just caught up for coffee and I word vomited this. I was like, I just want like all these little things that we make, but like cartoon versions of them. And she just nailed it. She was like, say no more, sent me a whole bunch back. And I was just like, yes, perfect.
It's amazing to see how far of a reach like a little icon can be and how cute just all folds
100%.
into the brand.
Yeah, it does. And it's so fun for me because, like I'm sitting here with my drink bottle with my icon stickers all over it. Like I just love to brand up everything. I've just had my car wrapped, all of the icons, and I just want it to be so recognizable that someone sees the cartoon donut and they're like, oh, that's something to do with Just Jess. And it's just a fun way that doesn't mean you have to plaster your logo everywhere. Yeah, I think it's a really good way for the customer to get involved a little bit more with the brand. Like we've had gifts made, GIF, I don't know what it is. And they can use that on their Instagram posts and stuff. And it's like without it just being Just Jess logo, it's like we're still getting that brand recognition, but it's like in a way that people want to use and pop on their own stories and stuff.
How do you engage with your online community and how has social media played a role in the growth of your business?
Social media is probably the number one thing that's contributed to our growth, our everything. Like that's just where it started. Probably only up until very recently, but even now I've never paid for any advertising. I've never paid for marketing. It's only recently I have employed free from Savvy Social to help with some of the social stuff just because I'm so busy. But I didn't really plan for it to be that way. It was just I started my business at home by myself, and it's boring and kind of lonely. And I'm like, there's no one to talk to. And I just started showing up on my stories and sharing what my day-to-day life was. And people loved it. Like, I guess a lot of food brands, I mean, it's definitely more prevalent now, I think, with like the evolution of TikTok and everything and vlogs. But back 5 years ago, it wasn't such a thing. And people would see this beautiful food that you'd create, right? Like the end product. But no one was really showing the behind the scenes of what went into it. So I just started recording time lapses of my day, baking cookies, baking cakes, making donuts, and just that on stories grew us so much. It must have just been a word of mouth thing. People would just reply to me all the time, this is so satisfying to watch. And so I did that. And then I started sharing a little bit more behind the scenes of my actual life as well as just the baking life. And I figured out that people like to buy from people. And so seeing like a personality and a face of the brand, people, I feel like they really want to support you more because they're like, you know, I can see Jess showing up here, working her ass off every single day, and I want to buy something because that's going to support her and keep her going. So I just found it so fun, and interacting with people every day through messages, it kind of just like kept me social and entertained while I was working alone all day by myself. I just love it. I love creating content. Like, it's such a fun part of my job that I really like to do. Even just like posts that I make, like people love to see a post of our beautiful food. But if it's me in there, or if they watch me creating it, they do so much better engagement wise if I'm making something or doing it rather than just showing the food at the end.
I also think there's another layer to this discussion with, especially, I don't want to go deep into this because I'm not like a tech bro, but like AI. So
oh God, don't get me started. It freaks me out.
No, but things can look so perfect. And so you kind of have this hesitancy of, is it real? And then as soon as you see someone in it, I mean, that's even getting a little blurred. But when you see someone in it or interacting in the world, you're like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Maybe even that like 5-year mark when Gen Z kind of like really entered into the picture online, they came into this with like almost boycotting Instagram and how much filter was on it. Hence the rise of TikTok. And just going back to your point in another way, that the reality means so much, and kind of that unfiltered behind the scenes look is valued so much.
For my like business specifically in our industry, it's so labor intensive and like so many steps and things go into that. You know, we'll have a banoffee donut, but we've made the dough, which is made the day before. Then we've rolled the dough. We've made the caramel sauce. There's so many different things that really made people appreciate the end product and the price of that product, I think, a lot more because they've seen how much work it takes.
Yeah, it's not just something you can whip on that bakes for 20 minutes.
I wish it was.
Put it on display. Yeah.
It'd be a lot cheaper.
That's funny that you say you're not a planner because baking is huge. As you said, you have to make the dough days before, and then you have to bake it, and then you have to dress it, and then make sure it's all fresh for the consumer.
It's interesting because baking is it's like super precise, and like weights and measurements of things are really important. But I just I'm loose. I'm loose with it.
Nice.
Obviously not with like the donut recipes and stuff I have now, but like a tablespoon of vanilla, just a blob. That's good.
I know what that is. Yeah.
Other bakers are probably cringing, but it works for me.
So I guess we'll go back to the pink. How important do you think aesthetics and branding are in the food industry, especially for a small business?
So important. Like, there's so many food businesses out there, especially in Auckland. We're quite spoiled for choice with all of our amazing like restaurants and cafes and bakeries. I think it's really important to establish, like, it's just all comes back to your brand identity, right? Like, I find as many pink things as I can, and people love it. They comment on it. They want to come and see the store because it's part of the experience. And it same goes for me. It's like, you know, I'm wearing a pink shirt today because I'm doing something for work. I'm always, if I'm in there, I'm wearing pink, like it's on brand. And it just, I don't know, it just contributes to the whole the wider brand picture, I suppose. Like, you know, people see me out driving my car and I'm wearing something pink and they're like, oh my gosh, it's just Jess. And like, it just makes them think of you. And that's what all of us are trying to do. But I definitely think in the food industry, it's important to develop like a little point of difference. And I personally am someone like I will judge somewhere hard on their aesthetics. Like obviously the food and the experience. But it's funny, like me and my husband went away for the weekend and we like wanted to get some brunch on the way back and I'm just driving past places and I'm like, not that one. Because they just didn't look aesthetic and cute and I don't know.
And the thing with that, I'll just interject briefly, but I love where you're going, is that it could have the best food, but because it's not presenting well, it's a miss.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody really understands that. I mean, small town New Zealand, rural New Zealand, it's probably a little different. Like Auckland is so saturated that you kind of have to do something to stand out. But I just think for us, it makes people want to come and see the store because it's like everything's pink. I'm going to get a cute photo of my coffee with the pink wall and the icons, and it's just, part of our experience. And I definitely think that it makes more people come out than just going to another bakery because they've got good donuts, you know?
Also, this draw of, I see it online all the time. I want to partake in it. I want that experience, but it's also like, I want to see what all the fuss is about. I want to join the online community, essentially.
Yeah, that's like my business model pretty much. And it started with, before I had the stores, it started with like the donut day thing. And I would do like a limited drop and it was sold out so fast and people were like, shit, I better get on the next one because like they go so fast. They must be good. I want to get them and I want to post them on my Instagram story. So I'm part of this little donut cult. And that worked so well for us. And then I kind of just translated that into the store. It's like, it's Instagrammable, it's cute. Like people want to come to get that shot, to share it on their story, say I've been there. Obviously our food is also amazing. And then they're like, wow, I didn't expect it to be that good, but yum. But yeah, that's a huge part of it, not just they know that we have amazing donuts. So I think of like the Kind Cafe in Bali. Like everybody knows that because it's all over Instagram. It's got a cute pink wall. It's like I went to Bali. It was like the first place I went because I wanted to get an Instagram photo there. So yeah, I think it's especially for this kind of generation, people want to go and get the pic and put it in their vlog or whatever. So I'm here for it.
So if you don't mind me opening up, is of course, it's not always easy.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Yes, and growth. And I think that's, I know you've talked about it before, the difficulties, but I think your individual story is different to everybody else's. How do you navigate those challenges that come across?
I'm still learning. It's rough. Business is freaking hard. People always ask me, what's like one thing you wish somebody told you? And I'm like, that I would cry so much. Like I did not picture this future with so many breakdowns, but here we are. It's tough, and especially like as a small business, and like I always say that my brand is just like an extension of me. So it's real personal to me, and it's my little baby, and I take it super personally, which I'm trying to work on because I know I need to like separate that, because something for me is like if I get something negative come through and I have to try and like take my personal feelings out of it, that someone's like attacking me personally, and see it as like a professional, this is feedback or whatever. I just think that I have to be in like, try and keep myself in like a good, strong place. And to do that is to look after myself first. And people talk about like balance, which I feel like when you own a small business, it's never like this even scale. It's one side's tipping, and then hopefully there'll be a point where the other side can tip for a little bit and like fill your cup back up. More often than not, it's out of balance for a while, but I have learned to really prioritize, one, looking after myself by exercising and eating well. When I'm doing that, I can just handle everything else so much better. And I have to book time off in.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Yep. So it's in my calendar, like day off, and it's like I'm not answering my phone that day. And it's hard because when you have a small business, you know, like You don't have money coming out your ears. So you want to pick up and say yes to all of the opportunities because you need to, but you can't. You can't do it all. And it took me ages to learn that. And I've had a lot of burnout times. It gets to like every Christmas and I'll finally stop and have my Christmas break and I get sick because I've just like run myself ragged for the last month. So I'm really trying my best to prioritize looking after myself and like my health first of all. And that means having time off. And with the closure of our pop-up store, it's allowed my team to like get a little bit smaller again. We needed like so many staff to do that second location. And it's just taken the pressure off a bit. And it's meant that I'm having 2 days off in a row, which I haven't had for the whole year since I came back in January, you know. So I just feel like human again after those 2 days and I'm ready to go back to work. Yeah, so just prioritizing that rest and doing the fun things to make you have a full cup. And the other thing is having a good support system. That's like super important. I am really lucky, and I don't think it's like lucky because I feel that this is just the way it should be, but I hear from a lot of other people that it isn't like this, but like the group of girlfriends that I've got around me, like we're just so here for everybody's growth and success, and like all of us are just hyping each other up every day. You can send someone like, you know, you're having a tough day and they're there for you. You can send them a really big win that you've had and they're like, fuck yeah, go you. That's amazing. And they're not jealous and they're not, you know, taking it personally like it's a failure of them. It's like there's so much room for everybody to succeed. So if your friends aren't doing that, you need to find some new ones. That's what I would say. It's super important.
So would you say this group of girlfriends, are they all business owners?
Mostly, yeah. And I don't know, I guess I attract that in my life because it's people that you can relate to. But yeah, I would say like my 5 or 6 besties all have their own business. Some not, and some, you know, have stepped away to be mums and things like that. But I think it's probably because we can all relate and we know that you need that hyping up sometimes, and so everybody's really excited for you when you do something good or sad for you when you do something not so good. You're never going to complete everything on your list that you need to complete as a business owner. Like it's just never ending, but prioritizing like the stuff that you need to do and then making sure you have that time off, and it's really hard to not feel guilty when you're having that time off because you're like, should be doing this and that and the other. So I've really had to like try and train my brain to be okay with that, and things can wait. But in saying that, also I feel like really good when I smash out my list. And so I'm a real list person, and I have like my list for today. These are the things I have to get done. And then I have a list of other things that would be nice to get done if I have the time. If I don't, they can wait till tomorrow or next week. And I try my best to like, you know, do one of those things before I have a day off. And then I just feel so proud of myself that I've like achieved it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to relax today and I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm not going on my emails. And like a bulk of this year, working on something big that didn't go well, didn't go the way that I planned. And I have only realized now that it's over, looking back, how much of like a stressed out state that I was in that was so bad for me and my health and my well-being. Like you always say at the end of the year, wow, that was a really hard year, but this has been my hardest year that I've had. And once that was all kind of settled and done, I really like had a talk to myself, and I'm like, you need to prioritize looking after yourself now, because you've put your body and mind through all of this. And it was kind of unavoidable, you know, like I couldn't just be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But you have to make time and prioritize it. And since it's probably been about 2 or 3 months since that's all over, and I've been like really slowing down, making sure I have my days off, you know, like booking into Pilates and all that thing. And I'm just in so much of a better space now. And like I was saying the other day on a drive home, there was like a beautiful sunset. And I was thinking, you know, 3 months ago, I would have known this was a beautiful sunset, but I wouldn't have been able to like enjoy it and appreciate it. I would have just known that I was supposed to. But now I just am like, wow, that is stunning. Like what a beautiful sunset and doing things with your friends, you would do it to try and fill your cup. But because I was in such a not good space, I just find myself wanting to get out of there and go home and be by myself. And then now I'm like, wow, I really enjoy being with my friends again and doing fun stuff. And I think that's definitely a direct result of just, slowing down, prioritizing the time off and the mental break from the business stuff. And like you kind of realize it a little bit at the time when you're in it, but it's just like, it's so hard. So it's just like, you don't have the capacity to think about how to deal with it, Yeah. So I now have learnt so much about prioritizing that rest and the mental space, and I can carry that forward into what, there may be another big stressful situation to come, but I'm going to have so many learnings of how to like deal with it better.
I don't know if you want to say any more about that specific topic.
Most people will know because I brought everyone along on the journey, and I was looking into opening a big new commercial space. And that kind of happened when I opened the pop-up back in February. We'd kind of known for ages that our space was too small and our machines were too small and everything, but it wasn't until we got that second location that we were like, oh my gosh, we desperately need bigger and better. So that gave me like the big push I kind of needed, I suppose, to look into some spaces. Signed up for one and everything. And that was like, I signed up for that back in April and planned it all out, planned this big bakery, bought all of these really big, bougie, expensive machines, got my first business loan to pay for those. So I was really like going in on the growth. Last year I was like, 2023 is my like big growth hustle year, and I'm going to get the business cranking so that I can step back. Anyway, it all turned into a bit of a disaster. The power of the whole development wasn't powerful enough for my machines that I'd already bought. And I kind of got misled into the lease is what I would say on that. Obviously I can't talk about a whole bunch of it, but the way that it was kind of advertised is the reason I looked into that space, and it turns out that it just wasn't right for me. And so that was all well and good, like bit of a shame, but the kind of stressful part came after that point when I decided to cancel the lease, and then there was this big legal battle, very expensive, very stressful. And that was kind of like the really hard part of it. And that went on for probably 3 months. So we're not moving anymore. We're staying at Huapai, which I'm actually really happy about. It was funny. I kind of felt so much anxiety at every step of the way of that new space. And I thought that it was because it was scary, obviously, like big risk taking, but I just knew that I would be able to back it up, but maybe it was a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And now that I look back, I'm like, every part of getting that space and all the things that went into it was all so hard. Like nothing just seemed to fall into place and work out. And all the other decisions I've made with my business and my stores, like it's all just kind of worked out. And these opportunities just have presented themselves and I've taken them. But this one, it felt like I was forcing it. And possibly that's why it didn't work out. Wasn't meant to be. I'm definitely a believer in that, the universe has got a plan, and that wasn't the plan for us.
Yeah.
It's just a shame I had to waste all of that time and money to learn that lesson. But that's just business. And I know like a few people were like, oh my gosh, like you poor thing, like how are you going to talk about that? And like, I feel like people thought that I would be a bit embarrassed about it. I'm not embarrassed about it. Like I fully own it. I'm like, it was a real freaking shame that it worked out that way, but I'm not like embarrassed or ashamed about that. Like I was trying to grow my business. I was trying to like make big steps. It didn't work out. That's business. Happens all the time. It's just most people don't share about it and take you along on the journey and share all of their thoughts online. Yeah. So that was, it was just because I'd obviously taken everyone on that journey, and then it got to that really awful, stressful point. And then people started asking questions and gossiping and making assumptions. And that was probably like the peak of the really hard times for me, because I'm like, not only am I just trying to like survive and deal with this. I've got all of that in the background as well, it's tough because people, like, there's a whole group of people I feel, and because I was obviously in not a very good space, that was all I saw. But people are like preying on your downfall. Like they're like stoked that something must be going on and it's a big scandal. And I'm like, I'm not just a human behind here. Like, it's just me. And obviously I didn't share what I was going through. And I know if I did, and when I did a podcast a few weeks ago with Edna, we touched on it briefly, and just the outpouring of support after that was amazing. And I know that if I'd shared what I was going through at the time, I would have had that, but I wasn't ready to do that because I was just trying to deal personally. So all I heard was like the negative stuff, so it was a bit of a shame, but I'm not upset about it. It's taught me a lot, and I've realized that there's nothing wrong with just like staying where I'm at and appreciating what I've got. And I've got a really successful little store and a little business, and I'm always trying to chase the growth, but I'm trying this new thing where I just chill for a little while, just be proud of what we've done so far and keep going with it for a bit. And I don't always have to be working on the next thing.
That's the best outcome of the situation you can have, is to then realize that for the long term, how you can approach these business decisions, how you see your business growing into the future.
Yeah.
Right now, just chill and enjoy and appreciate, as you said. Be really proud of what you've already built.
Yeah, I used to celebrate every little milestone and all the steps along the way. Like, I'm such a big celebrator, probably why I'm in the celebration business. But that kind of got lost, and I'm just like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I wouldn't stop and appreciate like the progress we did make. Like, even this year's been awful and stressful, but we've had a really successful year and we've done some amazing things, but I just wasn't seeing it. I was like, now what's next? What's next? But I think I just need to slow down and appreciate.
Well, you're growing in different ways, whether it be different products or different collaborations and pop-ups that you're now able to do because you have that flexibility.
Yes, definitely. Being able to do so much more.
You're a content creator because you make your own content. You stylize it the way you know about how your brand comes off. How do you see those two separate lives?
They definitely blur. Recently, in probably the last year or two, I've tried to separate them a little bit more. It's just because like the content for both is quite different. And I really love that I get both those outlets because I'm such a foodie. I love the food content. I love making things and showing that off. But I also love fashion and beauty and all those other things. And it's super cool that I have a platform for each of those. They do cross over a bit, but I have tried to separate them a little more just to kind of get a little bit more distance from it. And I don't say that as in I want to get away from it, but it can be quite taxing being like the face of your brand. And people expect you to show up all the time. And sometimes I just can't. And sometimes I need a day off, but I still need the shop to run and, things to sell and whatever. So that's why I've gotten Brie on board. So Brie does a lot of our social media now. Like, I'm still creating content and shooting it, but she just helps out with it. So she'll come in a couple of times a month, shoot some content if I'm having a day off or whatever, just to keep it active all the time. And then my personal brand, I would say I have taken a real step back from that this year, and it was just because of what I was going through. I just didn't have the energy to show up online every day and, get criticized for this or that. That just wasn't important at that time. Like, I was just trying to deal. But I'm really getting back into that again now that I'm in a bit of a better place. It's a good creative outlet for me to do both. Like, I love the different types of content I get to make.
What keeps you inspired in your diverse pursuits?
I would just say everything, like everywhere. Like, I will literally like be driving down the street and I'll see some cute little building and I'm like, oh, I can just picture like a cake that's going to go with that building or something.
Yeah.
It's super random. Or I really love when people, if I'm making their birthday cake, I'm like, can you send me a photo of your outfit? I want to like make the cake to go with your outfit. It's just everywhere. Definitely lots of like fashion. Fashion is like super inspirational for me with like translating that into food. Seasonality as well, which would be the same for a lot of foodies. It's like, strawberries are in right now. Like, what's all the cool shit we can make with strawberries? And for my personal, there's definitely like just other people's content that I watch on TikTok and stuff. Like I love kind of finding new ways to edit stuff and like different ASMR things or like vlogs with real sound. I'm like, wow, I really enjoy like listening to this. So I'm going to try and make one. I wouldn't say like specifically any people, just everyone that I follow. I'm like, do something and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that next time I make a vlog or whatever. So just everywhere, all around me.
One of the main themes of this podcast with our first guest, Caroline, she's into design work. And a paradox is beauty and function. So I don't know design. I'm looking at this table and is that a functional table? If it's glass, like someone could kick it and break it.
There's lots of fingerprints, got to clean it all the time.
Exactly. So this beauty and function, I think it translates really well. And I think you touched on it earlier when you were saying it's that balance of like being everywhere and being the brand.
Yeah.
Is that kind of that creative side and then for beauty in the design world's terms. And then function is you need an operable business. You also have to be a businesswoman. You also have to make those decisions. So I'm curious to know, how do you see that? Do you try to balance them? Do you try to do all at once?
I'm the queen of having all the things on my plate at the same time. I try my best to like block my time and I'm like, this is a creative day. This is an admin day. But then it might get to that day and I'm like, I don't feel like emails today. I want to go and film something and make something. So I'm a bit fluid with it and I should probably be a little bit more strict because the email inbox just kind of falls by the wayside if I'm like, I don't know, I just have weeks where I'm really inspired and I just want to get in there and make things and I'm like, oh, the emails can wait. But yeah, and then the other part of that is like you were saying, there's kind of this expectation to show up for the business every day, even if I don't feel like it. That's been really great to have some support on that. I mean, when I was obviously alone working by myself, I couldn't afford that or anything. But now it's like my team's online and sometimes they'll help me out with it. I don't personally do this, but I know it is helpful for a lot of my friends is they'll bulk create and schedule so that they're always active and they're always online, but it's not necessarily like they're doing it right in that moment. I'm not a planner. We've already talked about that. I'm like, I'm just going to shoot this and make it today and post it right now.
Yeah, that's relevant.
But yeah, that's just how I work. And I do like that live kind of sense of it. And on like my personal brand side of things, obviously I do like some paid work on there and it is like a great little income source, but that's kind of like, I'd call that my side hustle. Like that's obviously not number one because it's not the thing that, gives me consistent income all the time. So that just kind of fits in around it. It might just, be the afternoon when I get home from work, I'll be able to shoot something or might just be, again, feeling inspired one day and I'll shoot something in the morning and it just, that kind of just slots in around it. But it can be tough when you're not feeling super happy and motivated and inspired and like when you're feeling really stressed, I'm not feeling so creative at those times. So that's where it was really great to have some help with it, especially for the business. Like we really rely on social media and our followers are so engaged, like watching during the day to see what we've got left if they're going to come to the shop or not. So like we really have to be on that and I've kind of created that monster for myself. But yeah, it's cool because if people see that they're like, oh, there's still heaps left, let's jump in the car and go now. But it's also shit because it's kind of created this, oh, she's not going to have anything left by now, so we won't bother, if we don't go early. So it's like a double-edged sword and I do still do the stock updates as much as I can and we're stocked right up until close most of the time.
As a local business owner in New Zealand, how do you see the landscape evolving for small businesses?
I think right now is probably like the toughest. I mean, obviously COVID was tough for a lot of, well, everyone, but a lot of industries, but I also feel like now is really hard and everyone that I'm speaking to that owns a small business is struggling and they're just kind of like staying afloat just. We're all kind of hoping that will get better soon, but it's just everything, cost of living is so high, times are tough. People don't have that disposable income to treat themselves anymore. So what we try and do is coming back to like the social media side of that is I try my best to provide like a valuable experience online for people so that it puts our brand in like a better light. our food is expensive because it's so labor intensive. And I know that, especially at the moment, it's such a luxury for people. So I think that's where the people buy from people thing becomes really important, because people know that they're supporting you and, your family and your staff and all of that, rather than a big brand that's going to be fine. So I hope that people will look to, it's back to like the COVID times, like shop small, shop local, because now in the next year ahead or whatever is going to be really hard, I think, for small businesses to stay afloat. And there's so many closing, which is just so sad. That what I'd say, if anyone wants advice, is get online or in your stores or wherever that may be, and get in front of your customers. And I think now more than ever, we have to find out what they want and what they are going to spend that hard-earned money on, and create a solution for that or a product for that, and just try and connect with people and be relatable and show them what you're doing and what goes into it. I really hope that things are going to get a little bit easier. Yeah. We need some bloody interest rates to come down or something. Small businesses are the bulk of the New Zealand economy.
It's so important.
If they keep closing, it's not going to be good. We need it. Everyone needs to keep supporting the small guys. It's funny. Just touching back on the EFTPOS machine and the brand awareness and the pink thing. I got served an Instagram ad for the pink Skyzer machine. Great targeting. Whoever did that nailed it. I've never inquired so fast off an Instagram ad ever. But over the following weeks, when obviously that campaign rolled out, the amount of people that sent me that ad, and I'm like, that's when you know you've nailed the branding, and people are like, you need this machine. And I was like, I know, I'm already halfway there. But it does, those little aesthetic things matter. And the amount of our locals that come in and they're like, oh my God, you've got a pink machine. Everything's pink. So and I'm like, yeah, it's all part of the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, people love it.
And it's so silly though, right? Because everyone knows what an EFTPOS machine is here.
Yeah.
And they're just like, why would I think twice about it? And you're like, it literally will make people smile. It's different.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. That goes back to the whole theme of beauty and function for us. Not only do we make beautiful EFTPOS machines,
but they work.
But they work.
They get the money in the bank.
And if they don't work,
they always answer the phone.
Yes, not to plug Skyzer too much. But I think it's about how you approach things. If you care about those little details, people will begin to care as well. So one last question, given your success and experience, what are the key factors you believe contribute to a small business's sustained growth? And what advice would you share with those who are just starting?
People buy from people, and you need to provide your customers or your followers or whoever with a valuable experience. So to say, I'm going to use Instagram as the example. Why would someone want to follow me? If I'm just posting, I've got this for sale for $10 and this is $20 and this cake, you should buy it. They're going to be like, boring. And I think a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, you're desperate and you need to sell some things to, pay the bills. But people just see right through that and they get bored of it. So I think it's really important to create another part of that platform to be valuable for them. Are they going to learn something? Are they going to, get the little ASMR dopamine hit from watching one of your videos? Is it fun for them to watch? Is it, they need to come to your page or your business, and there needs to be another reason that they're there, not just to buy shit from you. And I've always been that was something I learned in my old job, that media needs to be a value exchange. What are we giving back to the consumer for them to engage with us or follow us or buy from us? And the second part of that is when you do that, I think you create really good relationships with your customers or your ideal customer, even if they're not, I have relationships with people overseas that I've never met, that are followers, and they, love our content. And then you can really figure out who your customers are and in turn what they want. I probably have two main customer groups, I would say. And one is people that are sort of my age, like in their 20s, 30s, they want to come and get the Instagram shot and buy a bougie coffee and say that they've been to Just Jess and that kind of thing. And then the other part is like a lot of mums with young kids and they want to buy birthday cakes and they're so busy and time poor that if we can, they can order a cake from us and it shows up and it looks amazing, great. So figuring out who they are and then how you want to talk to them and what you can create for them as a product rather than just, I've made this product and you should buy it. It's like, what do your customers actually need and want? Not just, you can't just put it out there as, this is what I've made, everybody should buy it, because not everyone's going to buy it and not everybody needs it or wants it or sees the value in it. So you've got to find your people and really create that relationship and listen to them. Like we're constantly asking our followers, what flavor should we do tomorrow or what cookies do you want next week? And they feel like they're part of the journey and they're decision making, and then that it's kind of fun for them and they're like, oh my God, she used my suggestion, I'm going to share that or buy that, or they just feel good about it.
As you know, you're not operating in the void, right? You could be making the best cake ever, but it doesn't really matter if no one's there to buy it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much, Jess. It's honestly been such a pleasure. Tell the people what you want to do or what they should do. Should they go follow Just Jess? Blah, blah,
Definitely
blah.
go follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're Just Jess Bougie Bakery, and we'll hopefully provide you with some really cool content to watch. And if you're around, come see us at our stores. We have delicious food and coffees.
Yes.
And I'm not used to plugging my business. I'm like, what do I say? But come follow us, come see us.
I love it.
You won't regret it.
Do you have anything upcoming?
We're just ready for a big Christmas. We're about to drop our big pre-order range for Christmas. So we can do the baking. You can take the credit. We don't mind. We're going to pop up at a few markets in December just to get out there, do something different. But then we're going to take a break over summer and just have a couple of weeks off. So hopefully that'll provide a little brain space, and then we'll make some big plans for next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jess, again for sharing
your
that
was fun.
And the conversation. This was an episode of Beyond the Transaction. Tune in next month. Bye.
Bye.